Hello, everyone. My name is Brandon Job, and today I'm here with Fanny Lora. She's an entrepreneur, an award-winning artist, and also a composer. Hello, Fanny Lora. Nice to be with you today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Good, and it's good to see you today. How are you feeling today?
Nervous, but excited to be here.
Don't worry. We're going to get right into it. So, growing up in the DR, tell me about that.
Well, I always was very musical, and I grew up in an island, so it was very natural to be dancing and singing, and all of a sudden it was time to do my first communion, and they needed a soloist, and of course I was like, can I do that solo? And it all started from there.
Okay. What type of music did you listen to growing up?
I listened to a lot of merengue and also the Beatles and some jazz, you could say, but not a lot of different music than the cultural folklore. It was a lot of dance-based things. Yeah.
At what age did you come to the U.S.?
I came here when I was 15 years old.
Did you find there was a difference now when it comes to the culture of music from DR to here? Because obviously growing up listening to merengue, now coming here maybe listening to like pop, R&B, like did you kind of find that like difference and like kind of find your niche?
Yeah, it was quite different, especially as you mentioned culturally and the rhythms of dancing and all of that. And also it felt different because my interest had always been in studying classical music. So in the DR, I felt like, I don't quite fit what people like listening to in the DR, but I also didn't quite fit what people like listening to in pop culture.
You kind of had your own bubble for what you want to listen to.
Yes, so that felt awkward at the beginning, but I embraced it because I ended up in a small town upstate New York called Ithaca, New York, and there's a really great conservatory of music there, and I joined first like the local community youth choir, and then I got a chance to audition for college, and I ended up at Ithaca College, and I majored in music education and music performance, which was my dream.
And also that's good too, because obviously in New York, they have a big population when it comes to the Hispanics. So not only just you coming here, but also finding like that culture still in a place that you're coming out of.
That's true, except that I wasn't in New York City, where most of the Dominican people
Were you more like
live.
Outskirts?
Yeah, I was upstate New York. So
okay.
For me, it was a little bit isolated, really, in terms of my culture and language. And if to go even further, once you enter a conservatory, what I found was that I was the only Latina in my school, in my class of, music. And I also didn't listen to a lot or was encouraged to sing a lot of classical Spanish music or Hispanic music. And so from there is where I begin to think about this as being symptomatic of a systemic kind of injury, in the classical music world, and something that I was determined to change for myself, because even though I wasn't growing up seeing those examples of classical singers that looked like me and sounded like me, then I started to think about, what if I do that? What if I can be singing that repertoire that I so long for and somehow fit me best, you know? There's nothing compares to when you can feel the music to that deep level of belonging.
Yeah, especially because music is just another form of representation. So
absolutely.
And expression, everything, like just like singing about your emotions and like what you're going through and what you're feeling, I feel like is one of the best ways that like it gives you that sense of just joy and happiness.
Absolutely. And to be able to extend that to an audience that may not know or ever have heard this kind of music, because it's not the natural standard repertoire in classical music. And so this has, for me, entailed a lot of research, to find these pieces of music that maybe haven't been, used to the extent that they should, and haven't been presented to the audience in a way that introduces the ear to new sounds, new compositional techniques that, because of the folklore and culture of the Hispanic folklore, sounds different, but is also very expressive, very evocative, and very interesting.
Did you play any instruments growing up?
Actually, I learned a little bit of guitar as I was growing, and eventually I had to learn the piano. But for me, singing was always home base.
How did you get into a mezzo-soprano? And for the people that don't know, who's watching, explain kind of what a mezzo-soprano is.
Yeah, so when you sing classical music, the first thing that happens is that you audition and people want to get a sense of the timbre of your voice, how high you can sing and how low you can sing, but also the quality of your voice. So generally, women get defined as sopranos, which means that you have a timbre that is higher and normally an extension, or mezzo-soprano, where you feel more comfortable in the middle and lower range. And so I tended to be in that area. So that labels me mezzo-soprano. Right now, it's believed that these are just general labels, because a lot of people that are sopranos and mezzo-sopranos can sing exactly the same amount of notes. But it's just kind of like a quality-based label.
Teaching. So you're an Alexander teacher, correct?
Yes, I'm an Alexander technique teacher as well.
Talk about kind of how you got into that space.
Yeah, so it was very interesting. After I graduated from undergrad, I came to Boston trying to pursue a master's degree in vocal performance.
How old were you at this time?
About 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just got out of college.
Exactly. Yeah. And so when I came to Boston, my pursuit was to get a master's degree in vocal performance so that I could keep, singing classical music and find my way through, singing opera or something like that. But it didn't exactly happen that way. And so, surprising, right? But what I did find was a voice teacher who was also getting certified in the Alexander technique. And when we had voice lessons, she would say a few things in our lessons about general, I want to use this word lightly, alignment. She was talking about whether I could feel my feet on the floor and whether I could feel the breath flow in my body. And every time she would bring up something like that, I would sing better. Something would just click.
It resonated.
Yeah, it totally resonated. And my sound freed up. And so I kept feeling so curious that I ended up getting the certification at the Boston Conservatory in Alexander technique.
So would you say that Alexander technique not only was something that you do, but helped you improve when it comes to your music as well?
Absolutely. It helped me improve not only who I am as a musician, but who I am as a person, because it gave me calm. It gave me presence. It gave me a lot of authenticity.
Clarity.
Yeah, and clarity. And being able to stand in my 2 feet, and say, this is enough. And be able to convey that to others via hands-on work, which is the base of the Alexander technique. We convey what we teach via verbal and also hands-on work, which just means light touch to give the person a sense of where they are in this moment. And that becomes a guide towards more and more support in themselves.
Okay.
This is huge because a lot of the time in this day and age, we're living outside our bodies in response to TikTok and Instagram and how fast-paced things are. And so returning to ourselves becomes this huge, not barrier, but it becomes a challenge. So when you use the Alexander technique,
internalization in a sense.
Exactly. When you encounter the Alexander technique, what I hope people take away is that they had a chance to return to themselves and notice that they are calm, they are peace, they are all those things that sometimes we're missing when we live life outside of ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I saw you did in the previous years, way before, a interview at Access Quincy, and you talked about your first big break for a solo at a communion. How did you feel going into that?
Well, do you mean the interview or the solo at my first communion?
The solo that you were speaking about for the communion.
Well, it was a big moment for me because I was only 11.
Wow.
And, I honestly was very naive and thought, I'm going to sing it and they're probably not going to pick me, but who knows? And they picked me. And so then not only was I nervous about doing my first communion, being raised Catholic, but also there were a bunch of people there. It was
people right? Because this is back in DR.
But not everyone, because this is my peers from school, their families, their aunts and uncle, their neighbor, everyone, plus the school and the teachers. And so when I looked out there and sang my solo, it was frightening. But it came out well.
Okay. What are some things that you're kind of like looking towards when it comes to you singing and maybe even creating music? Like, is there some type of reach, like kind of what I was talking about earlier, that expression, self-joy? Is there something that you're kind of like trying to hound on when you sing music or maybe even create music?
Yes, I think my mission and my desire when I create anything or sing anything, which is in itself a creation, right? Every performance is something new. I'm looking for expression from a place of authenticity, because I believe that creates a common ground for everyone to feel their own emotions and resolve things that you might have not even thought you had inside while you are witnessing a performance. So my goal is to draw on into my own well of experiences and emotions so that I can share that with my audience in a way that is authentic and culturally reflecting, the folklore and the music that I come from. Yeah.
Okay. Entrepreneurship. Now, obviously, we talked about earlier, you are involved in a lot. Kind of talk about how you got yourself an entrepreneur, especially in today's society where you see a lot of self-entrepreneurs.
Yeah, well, I use the term lightly, but it is really entrepreneurship when a musician goes from just performing to creating something that they're trying to, I guess you would say, offer to the public. In my case, it came out of becoming a mother. When I became a mom in 2020, every time I held my baby, I had melodies pouring down. And I felt like, oh my God, I have to write this down. I have to write it down. And then eventually it became something like, I need to make sure that other people, other parents, can have access to writing or having a personalized lullaby for their babies, because it makes a huge difference in connecting with your baby, but also transitions between sleep time and snack time, or nap time and bath time. And so what I decided was that I needed to create a company that offers personalized lullabies for babies. And this became my project of entrepreneurship that is called Lula-U. And the idea is that anyone can order a Lula-U. It could be for your niece, for your own baby, it could be for anyone. It's a great gift that lasts forever. I create the melodies and the accompaniment, and I write it down in musical notes, and I give the package of it is that sheet music, a recording of the music with piano accompaniment, and a recording of the sheet music with my voice. So you get 3 things in it.
And also incorporating your music as well.
Exactly. So I write it and you get the full product. And it's something that you can save on your phone and sing with your baby.
Yes.
And people get to choose if they want English or Spanish, and if they want a bath song, a sleep song, a hello song, or any kind of song that you might want for a transition with a baby. So for me, it was like, I need to do this. So I went ahead. That's my project.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Moving from DR, US, growing up in New York, entrepreneurship, teaching on Alexander. What do you feel like with all these stuff going on? What do you feel like was your biggest adversity from jumping from all sorts of positions of where you were in your life and stages? What do you feel like was your biggest adversity?
I think for me, it was to leave my family in order to come to the States and make the dream of studying music
Yes.
come true, because no one wants to leave their family.
Oh, of course not.
Yeah.
And that's definitely not easy either.
Yeah, and I think we have choices that we make, and based on where you think you can go when you have an opportunity, then you make the best call possible. And for me, the best call in that moment was to come and pursue my dreams. But that was not easy on me or my family either.
Do you still go back home to see your family? Like,
Absolutely,
oh,
yeah.
okay.
So thankfully that was
and I think they look
possible.
back and say that was a good choice for you.
Yeah, because they've seen me be
They seen
able.
you grow.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And there's no substitute for that. I can't deny that I've grown through that adversity, but it was not easy for sure.
And speaking about growth too, I also want to piggyback back on your performance at the First Communion. Where do you feel like you are now, from just that little girl that performed in DR to now doing all these type of performances? How do you feel like your performance and music just has grown overall?
Well, I started with just a desire to do something nice. Like I want to sing at my First Communion, and wholeheartedly believing I could. But on the path of going from being a little girl and believing in myself and having, no fear, then I came to a different country and different culture and got a lot of fear. A fear of failure.
And it's intimidating too.
Yeah, I was very intimidated. And I didn't have the musical background that normally conservatory students would have,
Okay.
So I had a lot of hurdles to jump through, and I had to go beyond where I thought I could go, but it was too late to go back. So I had to keep going, and I think we all have that in us. And I'm very proud of the fact that I never gave up.
I like that.
Yeah.
What does music mean to you? Because you speak on, obviously, your expression in music, love, the joy, the culture, everything. What does music, just as a whole, mean to you?
That's a very hard question. I think music is the language of the soul for me, There are inexplicable things that you might not ever be able to say in words, but through music, you can. And sometimes that can be a feeling, or it can be a process that you're going through. Music can transcend any challenge, can heal. It can do so many things. So I see it as a medium for transcending any kind of emotional environment that we're in. And I think that's what makes it a language of the soul.
And obviously you enjoy performing it. What do you feel like was your best performance or most memorable performance?
Oh, that's a hard one too. I hope my most memorable performance is still ahead of me, right? But I have truly enjoyed and felt honored to sing at the National Theater of the Dominican Republic.
Wow.
Yeah, I've done that twice, and for me, that has been a huge honor. Biggest
crowd you performed in front of?
My crowds are still kind of small. I'd say maybe 250, 250.
That's a good amount.
I think for classical music, that's a pretty good amount.
And it's only going to keep on going.
Thank you so much, Brandon.
But before I get you out of here, talk about your upcoming performance at the Framingham Library here in Framingham.
Oh my goodness, yes. So on October 5th at 3 p.m., I will be singing Through My Eyes, Sounds of the Americas in the Framingham Public Library at the Costume Room. It's a completely free performance, and it's a program that is beautiful, is supposed to be like an opportunity for people to hear music from women composers from Latin America, which is pretty unheard of, right? But it's classical music in Spanish from Cuban composers, Argentinian composers, Colombian composers, and also one very, very special piece of a Dominican American poet, Alondra Bobadilla, who wrote a piece of 4 poems, and that won the Boston's Youth Laureate Award in 2020. Okay. And that was commissioned to be put into a song cycle by Omar Najmi, who is a tenor and composer and whom I went to college with. So there's so many connections in this concert program. And I am thrilled to be able to bring this to Framingham, because I feel like we need that representation and we need to amplify the voices of Hispanic
and the
culture
history as well too.
And the history, and also the women's voices.
Yes.
I am going to be accompanied by the fabulous Alexandra Ludkovich.
Okay.
She's a pianist and also a professor at Wheaton College.
Is this your first time performing with her?
This is my first time performing with her in a tour.
Okay.
But this is the 7th performance and final performance of this tour through My Eyes, Sounds of the Americas. So we've been working for a year.
And is this your first time performing in Framingham?
Actually, no. I have performed in Framingham in 2018 when I presented my concert program Andaluz at PAC Metro West, which is the Performing Arts Center.
How was that first time coming to Framingham?
That was wonderful. I also was teaching at PAC during that time, so it was, the connections were incredible. And also to be able to sing for my students as well, and not only audience members that I didn't know. That was a real gift, to be able to see my chorus receive a performance of music that was at that time from South Spain, and to see their bright faces and eyes light up and say, oh my goodness, my teacher is singing in a different language, and it's something we haven't seen before. That was very, very fun for me. But yeah, I hope everyone comes, and it's completely free. And I want to thank the Framingham Cultural Council and the Mass Cultural Council for supporting this concert program.
Well, Fanny, I just want to thank you again for coming in and sharing your time with us today. And check out Fanny Lora. She will be performing at the Framingham Library on October 5th at 3 o'clock.